Hello! Right, now the noggins are all in and there we go. They look alright, all glued and screwed, and I can take off excess glue when I feel like it, but it's all filled those joints nicely. What I'm going to do now, when I put sheet on these, I'm then going to stand these up and put these together. This sheet from here will overlap across here to here. And this sheet will just come up to here, to the end of this bar here. What I'm now going to do is to prepare this to bolt it together. So firstly, I lined up these frames so they sit exactly where I want on the blocks, running up nicely. Let me show you what I've got over here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to that way, drill a hole or start a counter bore so I can sink in those to below the surface. I'm going to drill through with a 5mm harpoon bit, which this is an 8mm coach screw by 4 inches, so it's 100mm. That shank is just under or just over 5mm, so I'm going to drill a harpoon through bit, a little bit into the other side, and then when I take this down I can then drill that full depth, so that then I can whack those two together and wind in a massive great big bolt. I'm going to put 4 in along here. Obviously I want to put it in the centre of here, not the centre of here, so I'm going to have to do the hole skewed over to this side, and I'll show you how I'm going to mark those in a sec. But right now, let's just crack onto it. I'll show you what I'm going to do on this side, and then I'll do the other side afterwards. Right, now the first thing I need to do is mark where I'm going to put the hole, so I'm going to use that. That tells me where the beam is going to be, so I'm just going to pencil a line down there. And we now can see where that beam is there, and we want to just roughly eyeball about halfway, which is there. So now, let's see. Yep. Okay, so now just going to drive a Forstner bit in. Unfortunately, I bought these Forstner bits because I decided they were going to come in handy at some point. But these ones are rubbish. Right. Centre on there. Yep, that'll do. Albeit it does better on drier wood. Right, let's go a bit deeper. Right, next, just change bit. Hold on. Right, just double check that that is deep enough to sink that. It is. So now I'm going to go in with 5mm bit. Stuck wood. And then I'll show you the next bit when I take this down, but I'm going to do the other 4 of these. So I'm going to put you further back and get the step ladder out. Right. So let's have a quick look. We now have 4 holes to drive dirty great big coach screws into to hold the frame together. I'll just go and do that end, but you don't need to see that. And when it comes time to put the things together, you'll see what those come to. Right, so the next stage is going to be sheeting up the frames, which is why I've laid this one down so I can chuck the sheets on easily and then trim them off at the right distance. But something I'm going to do first is I'm going to put some damp proof course down, basically a sheet of plastic, which I'm going to run around the edges. I'm going to tack it down with that glue just so it stays in place, and then drop the frame back on it to just let it set, and take it from there. So I'll just put you on a tripod while I get on and do that, which hopefully shouldn't take long. Right, let's just chuck this on top of there. Should. And that should hold that down, and I will do the same thing but in a different way for the damp proof on the other side. Right, let's go and get some sheets together. Right, so the next part of the shed build is this. We are going to be fixing down the sheeting to here. This is second-hand sheeting I acquired from a building site. It is actually exterior ply. It's been badly stored for ages, and it's currently a damp January, so it's far from ideal storage and working conditions, but never mind. I put down lines to follow where the top, middle and bottom runners are. I shall be following those. Obviously I can see the edge of the boards, and I've aligned those over the uprights, or at least some of the uprights. The other parts of the uprights are in the middle of these boards. I haven't marked the middle of these boards yet, but I can do later. So what I'm going to do now is just run around, drill pilot holes, and then after I've drilled pilot holes, I'm going to go ramming some screws. I have stainless steel screws from Toolstation. So let's crack on with it. This one. Oh, I need to tape measure back and hold on to make a foot long line. Just ram screw in there very quickly. Okay, hold on. Right, my aim is to put these about every foot. So let's go with there. problem there. Okay, so we're going to have to go either side. Hold on, that's not in anything. No, that's not caught in anything, that's odd. Hold on, let's check something here. Should have done. Let's put that one in at an angle. That's better. We're on the edge of these uprights because they're only about that wide. Okay. Let's go. Put that in at an angle. It's only a slight angle. It seems to make all the difference. Okay. I'll have to get another pilot drill out. That was a bit careless. I shall be back in a sec. Let's stick those screws in quickly. Right. Let's get this drill sorted out. that's that. All screwed in. Back at it tomorrow. Right, the next stage is going to be to trim these off. From the top rail, which is the centre of which is here, I want to go 3 inches. And then I'm going to trim that back with a trim router using an offcut of this stuff to get exactly the right size, because I want to use that on top of the top rail, because that will be where how thick the rafters are, and the rafters will sit on the top rail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark a line I already have here. I'm going to use a combination square like that just to make sure I've got that set up, and then I can just simply stick that up there and come in 3 inches from the end over there. See? So that's easy. And then I can trim that right up correctly with the trim router. So I'm just going to go and mark all those out and then get my circular saw out and do the best I can to follow that line. Let's crack on with it. Right, so we'll have to get that with the trim router, but that won't be hard. So, let's go and do that in a sec. Right, we're just going to tidy that cut up now with a flush trim router, which I've got in there, and I'm just going to continuously run it along. I've got an offcut here, which is getting it to the right depth, and I'm just going to run that along. So just stick it on a tripod, crack on with it. Oops. Go get a spanner. Hold on. Right, basically I've got to do the same thing to the other side, but you don't really need to see that. It's exactly the same, except I'll be going for 2 inches rather than 3 of overhang, and I'm just going to crack on with it. Right, it's been snowing, but I've still got to press on. I hope to get the bits up soon. Here is one side I'm just about to sheet up. I've already sheeted up that side, which is covered in snow and ice at the moment, and worked out exactly the best way of doing it. Hopefully this won't take too long. So the boards will overhang either end. This frame is just over 90 inches wide. So what we are going to do, I've marked, I don't know if you can see that there, the centre line down that board, so down this centre bit. So, and that's obviously 2 foot over, so what I'm going to do is put the edge of a board on here, and then screw that down, mark it out for, I need to trim the top and bottom. Once I've got that screwed down and marked up, I'll then put the other one on, do the same thing, and then I shall trim it down and we'll be done. And then I can put 3 sides up. So let's crack on. Right, first thing I'm going to do is, I'm wearing steel toe cap boots now because moving these sheets about, you don't want to drop them on your foot when you're wearing trainers. I'm going to just go and put some couple of screws in along here, along the centre. To hold it in place, stop it moving about. I've got it on dead on the centre line here. I'm going to use this as a guide. That centre, I can see where that centre is actually. There. Make sure they're parallel. That. Not quite. Yeah, that's right. Should. These don't need to be brilliantly accurate, but obviously I'm aiming to get it to a spar like that. So we should now just canvassing a couple of holes. So I'm putting these screw holes in about a foot apart. I'll be going a foot from that edge there. Right. The next one I want to be on the edge line here, which I measured out earlier, is 44 inches from the centre. Yeah. Oh, that's the last one. And one over here. Next, we're going to mark off where we're going to run the screws on the top and bottom. What I'm going to do is simply I'm going to go and use this as a guide for marking. So that is one there. That will be where I want to trim to in a minute, and that is therefore 1 inch down. We'll take, if I go up here, do the same thing. Hold on. Swing that leg down there. Right, that's the bottom of the rail, that's the top of the rail, and about 1 inch down. We will want a line from there to there, and that is where I'm going to drive my top screws in. This one up here want to trim to. So I'll do part with the circular saw and then I'll get a trim router out. Right, so I can drive a screw at the top. It's going to do similar for the bottom. Except I'm going to be using that edge because I only want a couple of inches. Right. Okay, so next I'm going to go down the centre. And these screws are going in at a slight angle. Every foot or so. Let's start the one here. I'm doing these at a slight angle so I've got more board and go more into the central part of the wood. Right, so apart from trimming that board off, which I'll do when the other one's on there, that's done. I shall now move all this stuff off, get the other board on and carry on. Right, so the next board is on. Same drill. Get that out. Right, just go grab a cup of tea and then crack on. Right, so we're going to do the centre first. Just going to get this done. And then do the marking up and sawing. Right, that's all the screws and everything in. It's time to unplug the drills and go get the circular saw. Right, okay, so we're going to do a little bit of cutting of the circular saw. We'll be back in a sec. Come back with a trimmer out there. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to check the depth of the blade. Apparently you should have it only as deep as you need it in, and then about 1/4 inch. Put me about there, and gives you a better cut. Right, let's go. Right, so we've got those edges trimmed up, enough to fit a rafter in there, all the way along there, following that line. That overhang there is to go over the edge of front of the back, this one obviously the front. And that lip there will sit hopefully happily over the blockwork. So that's all done now. Just going to sweep up.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, that really helps, and constructive comments welcome.